Okay. Hey, everybody. Sorry for the tardiness. Yeah, Zoom was having some issues, so I had to create a new Zoom room, and Albert should be joining me soon. We were together, and then I had to create a new room, and says he's going to be joining back in. I just sent him the new link, so just give us a minute here. Oh, here he comes. Excellent. There we go. Okay, Albert, are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Excellent. Sorry, it's all working now. So I guess I don't know, whatever happened to that other Zoom room we were in wasn't working. So this new one is. The wonders of the internet, sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, it is like that.
So tell me a little bit about yourself. You said that you work at a radio. You're a DJ at the radio station, right? Or
Yeah, I do. I've been, since I moved over here, I've been doing radio production, audio production, and all that media environment. Been working with that from video editing to video effects and all that to advertisement and all that. But I went to college to become a graphic designer, and I always been doing like a freelancer kind of job on the side.
Okay.
But then a couple of years passed by, and I decided to have my own platform of services, and I started doing like all type of media, audio, and graphic designs all in one package bundle.
Okay.
And I've been like doing that for a while now, thanks God, and it's been good. Right now, I will be doing it's starting September 22, I guess. That's it's not final that date yet, but I think it's more around that date. I will be starting a radio show in a platform that is called Morflix Media Group. I never heard from them, but we sit down about what they want to do, and it's kind of everything. They're gonna have like a Netflix kind of thing, but content and radio content and videos and stuff like that. And they're like building all the platform with a different kind of content and all that. And I will be part of that with just a small a daily show of 2 hours. I'm gonna be doing that over there, so to see how it goes. It's gonna be a nice new experience for me, because I always did traditional radio, FM radio, stuff like that, and I will be now like doing. I believe that it will be a setup like for a podcast or something like that.
Okay.
And, like a YouTube podcast or something like that. And I decided to do it just because to have that experience, But I've been like 4 years like retired from radio and working straight for my graphic designs and all that.
Okay. Excellent. So you're currently making on the side, you're making websites for clients.
Yeah.
I know you've been using Foundation One for quite a few years.
Yeah.
Right. And
I love it.
Yep. And then, I know you bought Foundation 6 a long time ago, and you kind of been struggling, getting into it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So I know I have a version of your project file. You might have modified it since you sent that to me a few days ago. But would it be beneficial for me to just kind of open up that project and give you some tips, and then you can kind of ask questions? I'll share my screen, and then you can ask questions, and I'll be happy to answer them for you. Does that kind of format work well for you?
Yeah, man. Yeah, it would be great.
Right.
I mean, I just really, that website, I already did it for the same client with F1. I just wanted to see if I can do the same with Foundation 6.
Oh,
And
excellent. Okay.
that's what I was trying to do.
Can you give me the URL to the existing website? And then we can I can have that open side by side.
Let me go to the community messenger, and I will.
No, you could just put it in the Zoom chat. That works for me.
Perfect. Yeah.
And before we get started, I'm just going to get prepared here. Cheers, Albert.
Cheers.
Sorry, just being silly. Okay.
I have it now on a private, like restricted. You the name and password will be. I put it over there also. It's the same word in the name and the password.
Okay, perfect. Let me get a new.
I'm using a stack called SiteLog or something like that.
Yep. Okay. Let's see. Got it. Okay. Excellent. Yes, I am. Cool.
Basically, that's the website that I wanted to remake in F6 because it's one of the easiest, simplest website that I did, and I wanted to see if I can do it in a
cool.
You know, I think it's not a complicated website, and if I can do
not at all.
If I can at least do the same thing in F6, it would be good, you know.
Okay, perfect. One thing I will give you some feedback on the design is these pictures are so tall. Not sure I'm not sure I'm in on that, but we'll design this. Like I said, I do have the project file, and let me go ahead and open that. This is the project you sent me.
Yeah, I've been talking with the client about the picture because I don't know why she wanted I said like a banner would be better. But
yeah, I mean, if you want full screen, that's okay. But I wouldn't have an image that goes larger than the size of the browser window, you know? Yeah. You know, like, for example, like a lot of this up here it doesn't really tell you much. Like, you know, this is the interesting stuff down here, and it's all below the browser window on page load, you know?
Yeah. I agree 100%.
Okay. I guess the customer's always right, as they say sometimes, right?
Oh my God.
Okay. So I'm gonna be flat. I'm gonna give you some tough love today, if you don't mind, Albert. Okay.
No, go ahead,
okay.
Man.
Okay. I've looked at this project file, and there's definitely some stuff that we need some re-education on. Okay, I feel. Okay.
Yeah.
And not just foundation stuff either. I want to give you some really good, honest feedback. Because I want you to be a better web designer. Okay.
That would be great.
Perfect. All right. So I'm going to go off a couple here. I'm just going to reduce this. I don't need to see the details of this. Right. And one thing you'll notice that like site styles is kind of a little bit funky. That's this padding stack here is actually doing that. I'm just going to add something in here temporarily. I don't want to delete this swatch, but I want to make it so that it doesn't look like that anymore. Okay. I don't have a few of your stacks, so I'm not going to be able to comment on some of these. Okay. I don't have clean menu or explicit. Okay. If you'd like, I can potentially recommend how you could do something like this with Foundation 6, but it looks like clean menu. If it's doing the job, if clean menu does the job, you can do it. I mean, this works perfectly.
Well, if you can show me how to do that, I'm using those tags because I was struggling to do it in Foundation 6. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I just was trying to do everything in Foundation 6 without the need of other stacks.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, we can look at some of that then. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess we'll just let me just minimize these for now. All right. And then you have a couple swatches. And then we have the picture. Okay, this is the home page, right? Then we have that big picture, and then we have our buy now button. And then you have a one column with this two column, which is right here. And we've noticed that, okay, you do have a site width set. Okay. And then we have the footer, which is a pretty simple footer, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm actually here. Let's just preview this page. Let's see what it's looking like. Looking pretty close, right? You've gotten relatively close here. I think some things that you were worried about was like the position of this buy now button, right? Was one thing. You know, changing the browser size, it kind of doesn't necessarily react as you would want. As you see now, the buy now button's way down here, right? Okay. So we'll teach you how to fix that. Okay, that's a pretty simple one. Okay. Now there are some things that I'd say there's some concerning things on this page that I definitely want to help you out with. Okay. So let's look at this page here. We scroll down. There should be a some text like brand story or something like that. And if we notice, it's right down here. It's like on top of the text, right? So similar problem to that buy now button. We need to position that properly. Okay. And then we have this text, which looks great until you try to make it kind of responsive. And it's this on mobile. It's this really tiny thing. And there's a very fundamental thing that you're not understanding. That's a super easy fix for that. Okay. And then we're going to go down and we'll see you have, the image and some buy now buttons. Okay. Let's look at, I haven't even looked at the founder pages. Let's see what, that page isn't done. And this page and the contact us page. Okay. So we're primarily focusing on the home page and the brand story page. Okay, cool. So first, before I dive in, do you understand, like, what is the biggest hurdle for you, okay, for foundation? Is it swatches? Do you understand what a swatch is?
Well, now I understand what it is. Is what I need to use for adjust everything on the website. Like if I want to do a header, I need to create a swatch for that header and work with that swatch. If I want the header to be in certain position or certain color, so now I need to, in Foundation 6, it seems like everything that I will add into the page, it have like a swatch related for it, right? Or not?
Yep. Yes. So think about, traditionally when you added, let's say, a stack to the page. Now this stack has a bunch of settings. This is the picture stack. Or let's go to one that has a little bit less. Let's say the text stack has very few settings. Okay. Traditionally, like some stacks could have like, you can scroll forever for all the settings that some stacks have, right? Think of swatches as the way for you to have an infinite number of settings just by adding classes to things. Okay. So like if you want, let's say if I wanted to have a background on this text, right? Instead of, let me back up. Let me tell you the original reason why I came up with a swatch. Let's say I implemented a text stack. Okay, let's pretend this text stack was a standalone stack that was it wasn't a part of Foundation. It was just a text stack. Okay. And a user says, hey, Joe, I want an alignment setting. And I go, okay, that's easy enough. I'll add an alignment setting. And then another person's like, hey, Joe, I want font size. And I go, okay, yeah, that makes sense. I'll add font size. And then another guy's like, hey, Joe, I want font size, but for small, medium, and large. I go, okay, I could do that. Let me add more settings. And then someone else goes, hey, Joe, I want font families. And I go, okay, I could do that. I can add a font family setting. Another guy's like, hey, Joe, I want to use Google Fonts. And I go, okay, well, let me add more settings if you want to use Google Fonts. And another guy says, hey, Joe, I want access to line height and italic and bold and font weight and color. And I go, okay, let me add all of those settings, right? And then this text stack becomes huge, right? And then at that point, I've added all those settings and we could probably come up with 100 different ones. And then this stack becomes very complicated. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Can you envision that?
Well, I know that if I start right away with Foundation 6 without working with Foundation 1,
Mhm.
I think I will be like feeling being in a normal framework, you know,
Yes. Yeah.
because I'm used to see all those settings on the
Yep.
right, and I'm very used to that. Taking
Yep.
that from there, it was something like really called my attention the first time I was working with Foundation 6. And
Mhm.
now that I understand that the swatches will be working as the direct customization for any of the stacks that I will be using,
Mhm.
well, it's kind of the same thing, but more organized.
Exactly. Good, great. So I think so that concept is very hard for some people to understand. So congratulations. Good job on understanding that. Okay. No, I'm serious. Okay. That mental hurdle is very difficult for some people to come over. So I'm glad that you understand that. Okay. Um, but it is also, let me take it one step farther. Okay. In that these styles can now be reused in other places as well. Right. So for example, let's say this tech stack here, you have TXT2 as the class. And one thing I see you've done is you actually have two swatches that are styling the same class. So,
I didn't know what I was doing there. I just was,
oh, okay. Well, okay.
you
I
know,
will pretend that you did that on purpose because that's actually a great thing. Okay. Because you can add styles to the same class. So for example, let's say I also wanted, I think this is just an example that is easy to see. Let's say I do a background of on TXT2 and I make that, as you see, it made it gray. Let's just make it green or orange. Oops. What happened to that setting? I clicked off of it. Okay. So now whatever I add the class TXT2 to, it will get all of these styles.
okay.
Okay. So if I go down here and I add it on this button, okay, I'm not sure that these styles make sense on a button, but just to show you, if I do TXT2, guess what? There we go.
Uh-huh.
It got an orange background, it got a ton of padding, and it got whatever font styles you added.
Okay.
Okay. So it's a way of creating styles that you can reuse in other places. Because now let's say in all the places, or let me put TXT2 back here, even though I don't think it looks good, but it's just an example. Okay. Oops, TXT2. Right. Let's say later on, I'm like, you know what? I don't like this orange background. I think it looks horrible. Right. Instead of having to find every single place where I used that TXT2 class, all I
Mhm.
need to do is go to this one and say, you know what? I want it to be blue now. And guess what? It's blue everywhere.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So that is very powerful. Okay. Again, you can assign multiple swatches to the same class, and you can make these reusable so that you can use these in many different places.
So what I did over there, that you have two swatches, one that says .ico .my class over there, and the other
Yep.
one, I did that, and it wasn't. I can just make just one and not create different
Exactly. Yes.
swatches, right? Because
Yep.
I think that was a mistake right there.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you wanted to create your own, you know, Albert's button, okay, you wanted it to be with 50%, and you wanted to customize this padding, and you wanted to give it a certain margin, then yes, you would just put the same class, and then you would put that class on every button that you wanted that style, and you're done, right? And then
Oh.
if you ever wanted to tweak that style, you have one central place to modify the style for all of those buttons in one place.
And what I did over there, that I have two rows of swatches.
Mhm.
That is good, or it doesn't supposed to do that? Like, I,
So that is really a personal preference.
okay.
Okay. Okay. So normally how I do it is if it is a style that I'm going to use across multiple pages, I will put it inside site styles. Okay. Then if it's swatches that I'm using for a particular page, then I'll put it inside of maybe a swatches stack. Or if you watch, I did a really good video on where I built, I showed you how I built this web page. Okay.
Okay.
And it's a long one, but I build this entire web page live using Foundation 6. Okay. And what you'll see is what I do is for each of these, as you see, this page is kind of broken up into sections, right? So this is kind of a section. This is a section. Here's a different section. And what I do is I add, if I have styles that are just used in this section, I put a swatches stack above it, right? And then I put another one above this one for all the styles for this particular section, right?
Okay.
So that's the workflow that I've developed, but other people have done other things. You know, it really is up to you, but that's the workflow that I found works best for me.
I like it.
Okay. And again, all the styles that you use, like site-wide, let's say this button stack, you wanted to use this button style on every page, you would put that inside site styles, and then site styles would be a partial that would be on every page. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Because then if we were to add all of these, okay, into here, okay, then I can use these, assuming this is a partial, it's not right now, but if this was a partial, then I could use all of these classes on every web page.
I didn't even know that you can track the swatches over there. That's great.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So the swatches stack is definitely here. It's just to give you flexibility. What's kind of what's not great about the swatches stack is this huge menu, right? I mean, if you click on this, it's ginormous. Okay. But inside site styles, I've kind of broken it up into little groups, right? So we have all the features, we have font styles, and then here's more generic styles. This one is a little bit bigger, right? And then we have components. So let me go over what these different swatches are. Okay.
Those swatches that you are working with now are the ones that are going to be applied to the overall website, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. Now also remember, inside site styles, there's still settings in here that get applied as well.
Okay.
Right. So inside site styles, we have like all the default colors. I see you've customized the primary color already and the secondary colors. Okay.
Yeah.
So
you
figure that
like
out.
A Foundation 1 kind of.
Yeah, this is very similar to Foundation 1, right? Where you can define your default text sizes, your default text colors, right? This is very similar to Foundation 1. Okay. I also have global settings for gutter, right? So the gap in between your columns. Okay. So here's where you can define the sizing of those for small, medium, and large. Okay. Yeah. And then we also have the site width setting, right? So here the default is max width is 1200 pixels. Okay. Okay. So let me go over these swatches. Site styles. Here at the top, we have features. You're probably not going to use a lot of these. These aren't necessarily things to style. These are adding features, like optional features to Foundation. Okay. Such as, there's macro, and there's some of these are integrated with third-party stacks. So like there's a site lock stack in here. There's total CMS. There's PWA. Some of these don't come with Foundation, but if you own these stacks, they kind of magically show up here, which is nice. Okay. But if you want to add Font Awesome 5, let's say, you can, and you wanted to use all those icons, you could add this and it imports those fonts into the page. And then you can use Font Awesome 5 all you want.
Okay.
Okay. Next, in font and text, these is where you're going to see all of your font and text based styles. Now, all these ones that are labeled Pro, those show up if you own my Font Pro stacks. Okay. If you don't, you will see these top 5 here. Okay. Text colors, font style, web safe font, Google font, and all these other ones where it says Font Pro. These are, if you own my Font Pro stacks, there's an integration with Foundation 6 that allows you to add them directly into site styles.
Okay.
Okay. So for example, font styles, I could drag this up here, or if I wanted to add a new font style, I can add it as many as I want up here. Okay. And then I can see that, but as you see, you can drag and drop these all you want. Okay. So the organization is really up to you.
And if I want to use a Google font, it's just over there in that
exactly
swatch.
You just go here and you add Google font, and then you add that. We'll go over I'll go over some specific implementation details in a little bit. Okay. Next is general. These are going to be general styles that you can add to pretty much anything. Okay, like background colors and margins and height and width, right? I mean, these are, again, generic styles that you can add to most things. Okay. And then components, these are going to be swatches that are made specifically for something special. Okay. For example, if you were using foundation menus, here's a menu style swatch. This is a swatch just for foundation menus. Okay. And there's, other swatches for, let's say, font awesome, or SVGs, or top bar, or things of that nature. And then there's also stacks. If you own some of my other stacks, there's some special swatches that those ship with, like columnist or filter or drift and things of that nature. So if you were to own these stacks, they have integrations with Foundation as well. So I like to integrate my products as tightly as possible. So if you own them, you own more of my stacks, you get more features. Okay. I think that's a pretty decent overview of site styles. Let's start diving in and tweaking this page that we have. Okay. Okay. You had added this padding swatch. I'm just curious, do you remember what you were trying to accomplish with this swatch when you added it to the page?
I just wanted to know which stuff in my website is want to react with that. I was wondering.
Okay, perfect. You know what? Playing around and being curious is the best way to learn. So I'm glad that you've done that. I do think that throwing things on the page and playing with it, that's I think the best way to learn. Okay. Let me educate you a little bit on how a swatch works. So let's look at an anatomy of a swatch. If we look at a swatch, we'll notice that the very top of the swatch, on like 99% of the swatches, they all look the same. They all have this class element in CSS settings. And then under that, we have optional conditions where we can add a parent class, some pseudo state stuff, and something called a media query. Okay, let's look at the swatch selector part. By default, it's just a class. And I think you're familiar with what that does, right? Because, whatever you add a class here, you then add that class to whatever stack you want that apply on, right? I think this one was on the button. So here you added a class of BTN, and then here you're styling that class here. I think you understand that. It looks like you've grasped that concept.
Yeah. I think it was one of the guys that is part of your community that helped me understand that.
Excellent. Let's look at the next button. So on this one, you had selected element. And then what you'll notice inside this drop down here is a huge list of stuff. Okay. You had selected column. So what this page element does, it allows you to style all of a particular thing on the page. So by clicking column here and you adding a padding, what you're doing is you're adding padding to every single foundation column on the page. Okay. So, for example, in this layout up here, okay, this uses foundation columns to build out this little color palette up here, right? Okay. And when you said, hey, I want to add padding to every single column on the page, well, it added padding to every single one of these as well, right?
Okay.
So that's where this gives us a lot of power. Okay. It allows us to, now with great power also means you can break a lot of things as well, right?
Yep.
So as you see in this particular case, it broke everything pretty well. Hold on one second. So in this particular case, I don't think this particular swatch makes sense, right? Applying padding to every column on the page, not sure that makes much sense. But
Nope.
let's say you wanted to style every button a certain way, right? So you can click button, and let's say you wanted to customize the padding of every button on the page, right? This could be a good way to do that, right? Or if you're using, I don't know if you use Total CMS at all. I also have like a lot of Total CMS stuff in here. And there's SVGs. There's form elements is a great thing too. Let's say I wanted to style all form labels on the page, right? This is a great way of doing that. Now, if we want to limit this, let's just dive into some optional parameters here. For example, let's go ahead and let's do that button thing. Let's do button. Okay. And if we look further, I'm going to shrink up this picture since it's so tall. Just do that. Oops. There we go. All right. If we look at this button here, okay, and just for fun, actually, I'm going to take all of these and move them into here just for fun. All right. All right. Now, actually, I just noticed something. Let me undo. Here you had footer swatches. These are swatches that you're using inside your footer. Is that correct?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay. What I see your footer is a partial. Sorry, I'm going off topic a little bit, but I just noticed this. Probably what I would do is if this footer is a partial, what I would do is I would take this swatch. Let's just copy that. Let's go into this partial. And what I would do is I would just paste it directly inside this partial. Right? That way, those styles are now inside of that partial. Right? And no matter what page that I add this partial to, those styles will go along for the ride.
That's great.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Let me go ahead and add these button things back up here. Okay. Okay, so now we're looking at this padding swatch. I said, let's style all buttons, and you had top 32 pixel padding, bottom 16 pixel padding. And if you look here, guess what? That's what it did, right? It added padding to this button. Okay. Now, obviously, I don't think this is a great style for a button, but nope. it just illustrates if I were to add another button to this page, right? Let's go ahead and find my foundation stacks. Let's find a button. Okay. And if you look here, that button has those styles as well, because I'm applying this padding setting to all buttons on the page.
Okay.
Okay. Now, let's say, for example, my next bit I wanted to teach you about is something called a parent class. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a container to the page. Okay. I'm going to add a container, and I'm going to add this button inside this second button that I added inside of that container. Okay. And let's just call this my parent. Okay. I'm going to give it a class of my parent. Okay. As an example. Now, let's say I wanted to style all buttons differently inside anything that had my parent. Okay. So basically in here, if let's say I only wanted to apply the style to buttons that were inside of a parent. Okay. So here I added parent class, my parent. So what this says is all buttons inside my parent apply this style. Does that make sense?
It will be just for that button only.
And that's exactly what we see. If you look at this button, that button does not have that style anymore, right? You see the buy now button?
Yeah.
It does not have the style, but this button does because it's inside of a container that has a class of my parent.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So, and if I were to take this link button and put it in there, guess what? It now gets that style because it's inside of the parent container. If I were to take it out, it doesn't get that style. If I were to take this one out, guess what? It doesn't get that style either because it's not inside of that container.
Yes.
And I can have as many of these.
So
Let's say
it's better to use the containers for everything that you need with different setups or settings.
Yes and no. It could be good. I mean, it doesn't hurt. You can have as many containers as you want on the page. It doesn't really hurt anything. Okay. So if it helps you organize, yes. Okay. So yeah, I tend to use containers. So like, for example, this web page here, I put a container for every section of my web page.
Oh, great.
Okay. So this is a container. This is a container. This is a container. So I use containers to define sections. Okay. And I'm actually going to do that on your web page here in just a little bit. But I wanted to show you how you can use this parent class setting. Okay. Now this last button here is CSS selector, and this is probably more advanced setup. If you wanted to, give a specific CSS selector, okay, you have to know CSS here, and then you could type whatever you wanted. I would use this in case element or class doesn't do it for you. Okay. Most cases, I think class is going to work. And then if you need a little bit more power, element is very powerful. And then ultimately, again, but this CSS one, even I don't use this very often because I don't necessarily need it. I think 98% of the time, class and element or a combination of those is going to work perfect for you. Okay. I'm not going to dive into any of the other the pseudo state stuff right now. I don't want to confuse you. I don't want to go too far down into the weeds. Okay. But I did want to cover that. All right, I'm going to delete that for right now, that swatch. And let me delete this other stuff we created. Okay. I'm going to quickly rebuild this page. Let's go ahead and I'll keep these on here on this page for now. Okay, let's look at your homepage. Let's go back to this homepage. Here's the where's the actual website? Close these pages. Here we go. Nope, that's not the homepage. Is it?
Yeah, that's the homepage.
Yes. Oh, it is the homepage. Okay. Okay.
I wanted to. I also am trying to do that picture that always stays like center, but I don't know. That's the only picture she want over there. But I need to make it like the best way possible. Like doesn't. You see, when you enlarge the browser, it will be like cropping all over.
Yes.
And I don't like that.
Yeah. I can show you some options that we can do. Okay. 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 First off, let's take your current implementation of this and let's tweak it a little bit. Or actually, do we want to? Let's try to rebuild this menu a little bit. Let's have fun with that. Okay. So I'm actually just gonna. Do you have anything here? Or we have this logo. I'll save that logo out, and I don't have anything else in here, so we're just gonna delete it. Okay. Let's see. In this explicit, we have that same.
You can delete that one too.
Okay. Okay. Let's just delete that. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and. To me, this looks like so we have a little menu thing here, and it basically opens up a very simple menu, right? It's just a little drop down box that has a list of menus.
Yes.
Okay. Easy enough. All right. Let's build this out. Now, I will say I will use one non-foundation stack here. To do this little menu thing, I have a stack called Burger that I recently released. I'm not sure if you've seen it. That does these animated I don't have this particular animation inside Foundation 6, but I do have a stack that can do that. So that will be the only non-Foundation 6 stack that I use, at least for this menu. Okay. But let's go ahead and build this menu out. So right now, is it always? No, it scrolls. Okay. So we have a white box. So let's just build this. We have a white box. oops, what happened there? We have a white box that has our logo over here and a hamburger on the right. Right. Let's just build that really quick.
I believe in Foundation 1 you have a hamburger icon also. It doesn't animate, but you can use that if you have it in Foundation 6.
Yeah, Foundation 6 has a hamburger, but it doesn't animate like that. I'll build it with Foundation 6 and I'll show you how it looks with hamburger. How about that?
Okay.
Okay. I think hamburger is a $9 stack. It's a inexpensive one, but it's pretty cool. I released it, I think, a month ago. So it's pretty new. All right. So let's build this container here. So as I said before, I like to add containers around every kind of section. Okay. Now, and while this is small, it is a section. It is my navigation, right?
Yep.
Okay. So one thing also that I think you weren't aware of, okay, is one of the jobs of a container stack is that it is the only stack that constrains your content to your site width. So inside site styles, we have a max width set of 1200 pixels, right? Okay. The container stack is the only stack that will actually force your content to obey that. Okay. So for example, I'm going to add this, we don't want this, but I'm going to add this picture stack into here. Okay. And let's preview this page. Okay. What we'll notice is, this image doesn't grow. Again, I'm only showing this as I know this is not what you want, but I'm just showing you as an example. If you notice, this picture didn't grow past 1200 pixels.
Yeah, great.
Okay. Because it's the container stack that does that for us.
Okay.
Okay. And that was one of the points out on your branding page. You were using padding. We'll get to that later, but you should have been using a container.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. However, this particular menu, we don't want to constrain the width of it, right? Exactly. We want it to be full width, right? All the time.
Yes.
Right. Actually, it looks like it does cut off eventually. But in container, or let's move this picture out. Okay. In container, you have a sizing setting. Okay. And you can set it to be site width plus gutter or full width. So in this case, let's say we want to make sure this container, by default, container will obey the site width setting inside site styles. But for this menu, we want it to be full width.
Yes.
Okay. And then inside there, we want two columns. We want our icon and then we want our hamburger.
Yep.
Okay. So there's two things that we could do. First off, there is something called, there's top bar. Okay. Now top bar in Foundation 6 is very different than top bar in Foundation 1.
I realize it.
Okay. So top bar in Foundation 1 had a very opinionated style. Okay. Where it had a specific menu with a specific layout, and you couldn't really customize it from that, or at least not much. Okay. Foundation 6, what it tries to do is it makes all of these components reusable. Okay. So what do I mean by that? So let's go ahead and add top bar to this page. Okay. And what top bar is it's just a layout tool made specifically for menus.
Okay.
Okay. So what that means is on mobile, it's going to get this mobile bar. And then on desktop, we can add whatever menu we want inside of it. Right. So I could add this menu over here, and I can add whatever else I want over here. Okay. Now in your menu here, we're not going to actually use top bar. I think we can even go simpler than that. So I'm not going to go down the top bar rabbit hole right now, because we're already like an hour in, and I still have a lot of work to do. But yeah. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna use a 2 column. Okay, so I can use a 2 column. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to add this menu over here, or I'm sorry, the logo.
The logo, yeah.
The logo. And then over here, we're just going to add a hamburger. Okay. And that is, there is a hamburger in the button stack.
Okay.
And there we go. Now with the button stack, let's see. The button, we want to align it to the right. All right. But okay. Inside,
let me guess. We're gonna use a swatch for move it to the right.
Actually, no. not yet. Actually, there's actually some cool layout settings that we have inside columns now that we didn't have in Foundation 1.
Okay.
Okay. So let's look at these column sizing options. So the 1 through 12, I think you're probably familiar with from Foundation 1, right? Yeah. But there's something else called shrink to content. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make column 1 shrink to content, and I'm just going to say medium and smaller. It's always going to shrink to content. Okay. And let's go ahead and preview that really quick. Okay. So here, if you notice, I have the logo and I have this menu, but I wanted the menu over here. Okay. And there's also zero padding on this container. We need a little bit more padding, right? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So just for fun, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to add gutters and padding. Okay. Let's go ahead and do that. That adds some gutters and padding. Okay. But we still need to take this menu and put it over here. Okay. And what we're down here, we have column alignment. And what we could do is we could set this, let's set this to justify. And I think that's what we want. Right? Okay. So what this does, what this does is it kind of makes all the columns spread out as much as possible. Okay. So that's kind of getting us there, I think. Maybe in the hamburger, I think you had a beefier hamburger. Let's go ahead and do custom sizing. Let's try that. Yeah, it's a little thick, maybe.
It looks good.
Yeah, I think the thicker actually looks better. All right. All right. So there we go. So now we kind of have our icon and our button here that is a hamburger, but the hamburger doesn't do anything yet. Right? So what do we do for that? Okay. So now if we go back to your live site, it has this little window that pops up. Okay. So there is a component in Foundation called a drop down. This isn't to be confused with a drop down menu. Okay. There is a drop down menu, okay, which is right here, but there's also a drop down component. Okay. And let's just quickly show you. If you didn't know, the Foundation also has this great demo website. Okay. That kind of goes over all of the various Foundation components. And if we go to layouts, or actually, no, it's under components. Sorry, components. And by the way, all of these menu items here correspond to the groups in stacks, right?
Great.
So if you see here, Foundation 6 components, well, guess what? All of these are documented under the components here. Forms are all documented under forms. If you look, we have buttons, and guess where buttons are? They're under buttons. Animation is animation, right? So all of these groups of stacks correspond to the documentation over here. Okay, so if we go to components and we go to drop down, we'll see that if I click on this button, we have a little drop down. Okay, or if I click on this, we have a little drop down. Okay, it's just a kind of a floating box. Okay, so let's go ahead and configure our drop down. So I'm going to go ahead and add a drop down here. I'm going to add it with the hamburger so it makes my life a little easier. You can really add it wherever you want. It doesn't really matter. Okay. And then inside there, we just have a list of links. Okay. And to me, that just looks like a very simple, basic menu. Okay, so it's just a foundation menu. And it's a vertical menu as well. Okay, so we want the menu to be a vertical because by default, menu items will stack horizontally. But in your case, you want them to be on top of each other.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm just going to add in a few. I'm just going to leave them saying menu item for now.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay, fine. And then we need to, so how do we tie this drop down to this hamburger? Okay, so inside the hamburger, if we notice here, we can say open drop down. And then we have to give it a drop down ID. And let's just call it menu drop. Okay. And all I have to do is here, I have to put that ID there. And let's go ahead and preview. When I click, there we go.
Yeah.
Okay, now if you notice, yours is slightly further down. The default offset is 0, 0. We can just add a little bit of vertical offset. I don't know, let's do like 50 pixels. Right?
Perfect.
See? Pretty simple, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Where do you write down the menu drop ID first? I missed that.
So inside the hamburger.
Oh, hamburger. Okay.
In the hamburger, because we have to tell hamburger, you're responsible for opening a drop down. So we go under type and we tell it, you can do a lot of different things with this, right? But open drop down is one of them. And then it asks for a drop down ID. And then inside the drop down, there's also a drop down ID. So you just need to make sure that those two things match.
Okay.
I now linked this hamburger to this drop down.
Perfect.
There's a lot of various buttons and components that can open up a drop down or a light box. And you'll see the same exact kind of UI here in the settings. Okay. I can make this hamburger if I wanted to open up a light box. Guess what? It asked me for my light box ID. And then if I add a Foundation 6 light box to the page, okay, guess what? In here, there's a light box ID. So all I need to do is make sure that this matches with that. And instead, my hamburger now opens up a light box.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Let's set this back to drop down since that's what we wanted. Okay. So we're getting there. And if you noticed, like I've actually used 0 swatches so far.
Yeah. I guess if I want to drop a little bit down that hamburger, I will be using swatches for the.
Yes.
No?
So yeah. So if you wanted to drop this down, another thing that we could do is inside columns. So if you notice, we want to align these columns vertically. Okay. So watch this. We have a vertical alignment, and we can set that to be middle. Voila.
Voila. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now instead of me trying to add padding to make it look like it's centered, it's now perfectly centered.
Exactly.
Thank you for pointing that out. That was a good call. All right. So now our menu's perfectly centered. We click on it. It opens up our drop down. Okay. Now let's get into some swatches. Let's style some stuff a little bit. This menu doesn't look great. It's blue links. We probably don't want blue links. Okay. And also if you notice in yours, we have some rounded corners, which is nice. It also has a drop shadow.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's do that. Okay. So let's style the drop down first. Okay. Now I'm going to teach you, there's also a whole set of something called utility classes. Are you familiar with those are?
No.
So Foundation ships with a bunch of utility classes that you can use that you don't even need to create swatches at all.
Okay.
Okay. And if you go to this classes stack here and add that to the page, you will see that there are a lot of them. Okay. And guess what? There's one for shadow. And if you look a little bit further down, there's also one for, where is it? It's somewhere. Where is it? Content alignment, text or bullet, shadow, statistic, lead paragraph. Oh, do I not? I might not even have that listed. Unordered list, competing style, or box position. I don't have that. Okay, I'll have to add that to my list. Interesting. I don't have. So there's one for shadow. Guess what? And if you look here, there's a shadow class, and there's a bunch of others very interesting ones here. I'm not going to go through all of these, but we'll dive through some interesting ones here. Are the padding, the width, and the height, and the margin swatch utility classes. Okay, I'll be using those. They're fully documented here. And I will be using those, and I'll show you how we can use those throughout this build. Okay. But I wanted to show you that you can use, there's a bunch of utility classes here that let you do all kinds of cool stuff. Okay. Okay.
And
so
that stack is included in the Foundation 6, right?
Yes, it's right under site styles, and it's called classes.
Okay.
Okay. And also in the documentation, it's under, we go to, I think it's under site styles, utility classes. Here, I have them all here as well, and you can kind of go through them.
Okay, great.
Okay. But yeah, this classes stack makes it useful because it's just right inside RapidWeaver. Okay, so I said we wanted to make this rounded corners. So let's add a shadow. So as you saw, there was a shadow class. And then actually one of the non-documented utility classes is called radius. Okay. And let's go ahead and preview that. And what you'll notice is now this has round corners and there is a drop shadow.
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's say you wanted to go a little bit more custom. Okay. Let's say you wanted a stronger shadow. And let me show you how you can also customize the radius as well.
Okay.
So inside site styles, there is a setting down here for border radius. And let's say we set this to like, let's increase it to 8 pixels. Okay. Now, if we look here, you can see right here in edit mode, if you see those round corners, they're much bigger. They're much more dramatic.
Yeah.
So it's now, that's a global setting. Okay. So now whatever I add the radius class to, it will get those rounded corners. And guess what? In your buttons, when you said radius, guess what? These are now 8 pixels as well.
Okay.
Now this is important. Okay. As a good web designer, you want to make sure you're consistent.
Yep.
Okay. Because if we go this, and if this round corner is 8 pixels, and our button also has the same round corners, our website's going to look nicer.
Yep.
Because it has a consistent style. Okay. So very important. Okay. It's very important. Foundation tries very hard to make sure that your styles are consistent.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Now that we have, let's go over, let's say I wanted a different shadow on this. Okay. I wanted a stronger shadow. How can we customize that? Well, basically we go to general and we can add a shadow swatch. Okay. And let's just call this menu drop dash shadow. Okay.
Okay.
Classes, by the way, cannot have spaces and they must start with a letter.
Okay.
So I can't do like 3 menu drop shadow. You cannot start a class with a number. That isn't a Foundation thing. That's just a CSS browser thing. Okay. And to separate, if you want to make things more readable, I recommend using dashes. You can use underscores, but I think dashes are just easier to read and see.
Okay.
Okay. So like we could do menu drop shadow. Let's do that. Okay. And you can customize the drop shadow to be wherever you want. Let's increase the spread a little bit and maybe increase the blur. Let's go with that. And you can see the preview of what that drop shadow is going to look like. Let's go ahead and take this class, and I'm going to replace the shadow class with the menu drop shadow. Okay. As you see, it gives us a much stronger shadow. Maybe too strong, but there we go. It's probably too strong, but there, as you see, it works, right?
Yeah, it works.
Okay. So let's now look at styling the menu. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do and go to menu styles. Oh, it's under components because this is a swatch just for menus. So we're going to go to menu styles, and I'm just going to use my menu, okay, as the class. And actually, I'm going to stick with just the default colors here, and we'll see that those. I'm going to put my menu there, and if you notice, that kind of styles the colors of the menus differently from the default. So now when I click on this, we have a nice styled menu.
Yes.
Okay. Any questions so far?
No.
No?
Right.
Okay, has your brain exploded yet?
No, not yet.
Okay, good,
I'm
good.
absorbing every information. Also, I'm recording all this too because I want to revisit it. Even in your YouTube channel, it would be good.
Yeah, yeah.
Jess, I was wondering if I want to do like a top bar menu like that, is basically with a drop down menu and an easy way to navigation without any complications. I can do it just with a container and a 2-column stack. Right?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. If you're happy with this, yeah. Or if you just wanted a simple menu here, let's say you wanted here, let's move this here. Okay. Let's just delete that. We'll turn the vertical menu off. And there you go.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. Yeah, perfect.
Okay. Now where top bar shines is top bar will allow this to magically transform into that mobile menu on mobile, right? So that's where top bar shines.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if you want to quickly do that, here, let's do that really quick, right? So let's go ahead and add top bar into here. Okay. We're going to add this menu there. We're going to add this logo there. Okay. I'm going to delete that. Okay. So here we go. And if you notice on mobile, and then transforms into the mobile menu.
Uh-huh.
So that's where top bar shines.
Yeah.
Okay. Now top bar by default has like a gray background. We can override that with a swatch. Okay. There is a top bar swatch that allows you to customize that.
Okay.
Okay. For now, let's stick with the 2-column for right now.
Yeah, yeah.
Or I'll stick with your design. Let's just stick with what we had. All right. So we'll stick with this design for right now. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So I think that we call our menu done.
Yeah.
Okay. Now if I wanted to, I can go ahead and give this this container a class, and we can actually give it a lot of times what I'll do is when I'm defining containers that separate out a section, this is getting maybe a little advanced, okay, but there's something called an HTML tag. A lot of times what I will do is I will set this to be a section.
Okay.
Okay. And that gives us, that basically that more helps browsers and Google kind of source our website. It makes zero difference to the design of the web page. Okay. But telling that this is a section helps out. Okay. Or you can also give it something like a header. I have an entire video on that on SEO for Foundation 6, and I kind of go over that.
Okay.
But yeah. So there we go. And then we can also, if we wanted to give it a class, let's say like navigation section or something like that. And if I ever wanted to have classes that targeted this, I can then target it with that class.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Let's move on to this section. I'm going to start moving a little faster here. Okay. So let's look at this section here, this picture. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a container. Okay. And here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give this a navigation. Okay. And then we're just going to hide that. Okay. And then we're going to call this banner. Okay. And then HTML tag here is going to be, actually, I'm going to make this the header. Okay. Because it's kind of like the head, it's the top of our web page.
Yep.
Not, yeah. So we're going to give this header, and let's just call this site banner. Okay, give it a site banner class. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add, we want the picture and we want this button in there. Okay. So I'm going to delete the existing swatches you had set up for this button.
Yeah, please.
Okay. So let's go ahead and preview this. So now we have this. Well, first off, we'll notice that the image doesn't go full width. Okay, so we'll need to fix that. And then this buy now button doesn't hover over the image. Okay. So so the container, again, if you remember this, we have it set to site width. We want this one to be full width.
Yes.
Okay, because we want it to go the full width. We want that image to spread the entire width as well. Okay. So let's preview that, make sure that that gets fixed. That's fixed. So now the image is full width, but this buy now button needs to go over here. Okay. So at that point, what we're going to do is we're going to be doing a position swatch. Okay. And I'm going to call this banner button. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to do anything. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a position swatch. And just as I said before, so I could go ahead and put a
class
on there, and I could do, you know, buy now, or I could do banner button. Let's do banner button. Okay. And then in my position swatch, I can go ahead and put banner button here. Another thing that I could do is, remember on the container, I put in a class called site banner. I could just go ahead and say, I want the button inside site banner. That way I never even have to remember to add a class to it. Does that make sense?
More or less.
Okay, remember so in this parent class, this container that contains the picture and the button. So this container has a class of site-banner. Inside of it, there is a picture and our button. So basically, this position swatch is saying find all buttons that are inside site banner.
Okay. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. But again, you could do it that way, or you can use the class. I think the class is probably a simpler way to go. So we're going to do that for today. And I still have that class on there, right? Yeah, banner button. So we have banner button, and let's start doing position. So we don't want it relative to browser. We want it relative to parent. Now you had this correct, and I deleted your swatch, unfortunately. You had this correct. You had set it to be relative to parent, okay? But what you did wrong is you had your, you didn't have it inside of anything. There was no parent to your button, right? Therefore, the parent is the web page, okay? I'll show you. So let's go ahead and let's customize the position. I want on the bottom left. Okay, let's preview this. All right, now you're thinking, whoa, why is it way down here? Now I did that on purpose, okay? I didn't want it down here on the bottom of my web page. I want it over here. Okay, there's one critical piece of configuration we need to do when we do something relative to a parent. We need to tell that parent that it needs to be relative. Okay, so inside of this container that we set for this section, remember we have the container for this banner.
Yep.
You notice here there's a checkbox right here that tells this container that it should be positioned relative to its children. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and check that. And let's go ahead and preview again. And there, so now my buy now button's way down here, right? We're getting closer.
Yep.
Right. And if you notice, it's always, no matter what size, it's always right down there.
Yeah, just checking the position relative.
Yep.
It will fix that.
Exactly. Now when I uncheck this, why does it go all the way to the bottom? Because what it does is it's looking through all of its parents and it found none of it was relative. So it positions itself relative to the web page, which is at bottom 0, which is all the way at the bottom of the web page. Right? Okay.
Yeah.
So by telling this container you are position relative, that then says, hey, if any children are trying to position relative to me, be relative to me. Okay. Okay. But now let's tweak that, because we don't want it at the very bottom. We want it a little bit further up, right? So at this point, we could do, I don't know if you wanted, let's just do like 50, 50, something like that. 50 pixels up and 50 pixels over. Maybe a little bit more. Or you can also do percentages. Let's try percentages. Let's do like 5% up and 40% over. I'm going to guess. 40% is too much. 25.
Yeah.
So at this point, we're just kind of, until we get it positioned where we want. Yeah, that's pretty good. And then you can test the responsiveness, right? I'm not sure exactly where you want it, but let me show you something. Let's say on mobile, we wanted it right in the middle.
Yeah.
Okay. So, actually, I don't even like that. Let's do like 15%. Cool.
Now we got it.
Yeah, I like that. Okay. So let's say, again, let's say on mobile, I want this button to be right in the middle. Okay, down here. Maybe even below like the gin symbol, like right here. Okay, how do we do that? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna copy and paste this. Okay. And I'm gonna have 2 position swatches. Okay. And first off, this first one, I'm going to say this one is going to be for small only. So I skipped earlier over this media query. And what this allows you to do is it allows you to create a style for a specific breakpoint. Okay. So right now what we're going to do is we're going to make a style just for small.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say we want left 50%. And I'm going to set this to be center origin, because when you want to center something, essentially you want it to be 50%, and then you have to click this. Let me show you why. I'm going to turn that off. Small. Oh, I hate that Safari doesn't go down to the small size. Really hate that. I'm going to set this to be just small up for right, small and medium for right now. Hold on. This, I know it is. So this one we want to do small only. And this one we want to be, let's just say large only. Okay. All right. So here on this one, I set it to be 50% from the left. And if we look, what happens is the very far left of the button is centered.
Yeah.
But what we want is we want the middle of the button to be centered. Okay. So in order to do that, we just click this little center origin, and that will magically do that for us. Voila. Okay. So now this button is perfectly centered. Maybe we put it down a little bit. So maybe we do like 2%. Okay. So now there, it's kind of perfectly centered.
In the already live website that I did with F1, I did like a different, you see, a different time
okay,
for a phone. Yeah.
Got it. We can replicate that. Okay. And so basically we can make the button bigger, right? There's a couple different ways we could do that. Okay.
Yeah, but that's all. That's great that you can assign the position for a large page and a small page. It's
yes.
Great.
Yes. Right. So now when we get to, right, when we resize this on the large page, if you see the buttons now over here.
Yeah, man. Amazing.
Okay. So we see all this page. So far we have 4 swatches, right? Not horrible. Okay. Let's show you what we can do about the button. And there's multiple ways we can do this as well. Okay. First, we can adjust the width of the button, and that's what you were doing, right? You had a width swatch and you assigned a width to that button. Okay. that is a 100% valid approach. Okay. There's other things that we could do. Remember before I said there's utility classes, and some of those utility classes are for width. Okay. If we do W colon, hold on, even I think it's, hold on, let me add that to the page. Width. That's what I thought. Okay. So we can do 1/2. So we can do W colon 1/2, and that will be 50%. Okay. So oops. So let's go ahead and delete that. W colon 1/2. So if you notice now, that button has a 50% width. Okay. Right now we only wanted it 50% width on mobile. Like, yeah. How do we do that on desktop? We want it to be the normal size. So utility classes also have breakpoints built in. So if I want this 50% to only happen on small, I would do SM colon W 1/2. And at that point, if you look here on a big one, we have it's normal. And if we go small, oh, wait, what? That didn't do what I thought it should have done. Uh-oh. Well, I'll look into that one. That's weird. That seems to not work. All right, that could be a bug. But you could also do, let's go ahead and we could do width, right? So like if you did a width swatch, and we already have a class of banner button. So we could do banner button, simple, 50% width, only on small. Or maybe small and medium. I think we had small and medium here. Oh no, small only. Sorry. Small only. Oh, and on this position one, we need medium and large. That way we're doing this one's small, this one's medium and large. And then this one is going to be small only. So now on small, the button's 50% width and it's centered. And then on medium and large, it's and then you can apply a different width swatch for that setting, for that size.
Great.
That makes sense?
Yeah, and that's awesome to have to be able to assign different sizes.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, I think this section's done, right? Let's go ahead and look at this section here. Okay. So again, I'm going to throw out a container. And this section, I think we want it to constrain to the width. We don't want it to go full width, right? We want to constrain the width of this content here.
Yeah.
So, so I'm going to move this 2 column into the container. Okay. I'm going to set this to be a section. And then we have our 2 column. And then let's just go ahead and add a little bit of gutter and padding so that we have some spacing. Okay. I think that looks pretty good. You might want a little bit more spacing, right? So let's say we want a little bit more spacing at the very top. Okay. So there are, as I said, there's a lot of padding classes that we can use. I'm going to do PY, which is padding on top and bottom. Okay. And inside site styles, you might see this sizing chart, right? And you might be wondering, what the heck is that? Okay. Well, these numbers are standardized sizes that you can use throughout your project. And they're also throughout swatches as well. Remember earlier, I said it's important to have like a design system, and like in the border radius, how when you apply the border radius, everything has that same border radius. Okay. Well, the same thing applies to these sizing, whether or not it's margin or widths or padding. When you have something that is relative to something else, let's say I use 32 to 48, instead of doing like, I'm going to do 20 pixels on this one and then 17 pixels on this one, right? When you have a system, your website just kind of looks nicer. Okay. Which is why if you go to width, you'll notice that all of this pixel sizings here, it's all of these.
Yeah.
Okay. And those values are specifically done on purpose. Okay. It's because it shows progressive kind of and a scalar based approach to increasing width. So what I was getting to here is, let's say I want to look, let's take 64. Let's say I want to add 64 pixels to the top and bottom of each of these columns. Okay. So what I can do, actually, probably what I'll do is I'd add it to the container here. Okay. So on the container here, I'm going to do py:64. Okay. And what that did is
how do I know those commands that you're writing, like py, w?
So all of those are inside this classes stack.
And there I can, is there the abbreviation? Oh, okay, I see it now.
So here we have py is for vertical padding, and then it tells you all the numbers here. Okay, which I've showed you is all those numbers that are inside site styles. So we have p, which is padding on all sides. pt is padding top. pb is padding bottom. pl is padding left. pr is padding right. px is padding horizontal, which is left and right. And then py is vertical, which is top and bottom.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, essentially this stack is the same thing as if I were to, let's say, for example, I wanted to go, let's call this setting, I don't know, let's do testimonial section. Let's just call it testimonial. Okay. So I have a class called testimonial. Okay. I can go over here and let's add a padding, right? And I can do testimonial, and then I could do detailed, and I could do top is 64 and bottom is 64, right? That's the same exact thing, right? As again, there's just multiple ways of doing it.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you find, some people find the utility classes just stressful to remember, and if those don't click with you, it's okay. You can just create a padding swatch to do exactly what you want.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll make sure I send this project file for you to you, and maybe I'll just add this py:64 in there so you can kind of see that. Another thing that I tend to do, okay, is a lot of times if you're going to have multiple sections on a web page, let's take the Foundation Stacks web page. If you notice here, I have, let's go to a layout here. Okay, I have various sections on this web page, and guess what? The spacing between each of these sections is identical. Okay. And I did that with one swatch, okay? Because let's say I have, let's just call this like a site section, okay? And I have this site section on every single section of my website, okay? And guess what? If I go to this padding instead of that, let's call it site section. Now every single section is going to have the same exact padding. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Right. And then if I ever decide, let's preview that, right? Preview. So now, obviously, pretend these have different content in it, right? But that, let's say, hey, I wish I had a little bit more actually. Well, yes, I just go into here and I make it 96 and 96 and I preview, and it adds that spacing to all the sections on the page. Right? Makes sense?
Yes.
Cool. Okay. I think this page is pretty much done.
Yeah. It's a very simple website.
Yeah. Now, before we go, I do want to dive into this web page. Okay, and I say this last because a lot of the stuff here, let's just go ahead. I'm not going to rebuild this, the menu, or I could just copy paste it, I guess. Let's just, ultimately you'd probably set this all up in a partial and you would use the partial instead. I'm just going to copy paste for right now. Okay.
Yeah. Partial is the best idea.
Yeah. All right. And then for this, obviously this here, we'll even set this up. Actually, let's do this. I'm going to delete this site styles. Let's do this the right way. All right, I'm going to go in here. We're going to go into site styles. We're going to partial this. We're going to call this my site styles. Okay, go back. I'm going to do this. We're going to partial the navigation. Okay, so this navigation here, I'm going to partial that.
Yeah.
Okay, and we're going to call this site navigation. Okay, and go back. Okay, and so now I have both of these. Okay, go ahead and let's just minimize that. We'll minimize that. I'm going to go over brand story. I'm going to go into my partials. I'm going to add site styles. I'm going to add site navigation. Okay. All right, we'll minimize that. All right, so now let's go ahead and build this out, right? So let's go back to foundation. We had our container. Now, if you remember over here, I did use the class called site banner. Okay, we're going to stick with that. Oops. Actually, just for fun, I'm just going to go ahead and just going to copy and paste it over here. And we're going to delete that. Move that in there. And here, make sure in this site banner, we had position relative checked. Okay. And then in this one, we wanted to, so first off, this brand story, first it's a picture. Okay. This should really be a header, right? So that it's actual text on the page. Okay. So this should be a header so that it's indexable. You should never ever use text as an image. Okay. So this really should be a header. You can style that header white. Okay. I'm not going to go ahead and do all of that, but you can do that with font colors or, all kinds of stuff. Right. But this, here, we're going all out. Let's just go ahead and add it really quick. Okay. So we're going to add a header to here. So this is going to be brand story. Right. Okay. And then this is going to be probably an H1. Okay. And we could do color white. It's a utility class. Okay. We're going to do text align centered. Okay. And then this is going to be hold on a second over here. So we used banner. Okay, we're going to do banner header. Okay. And let's just go ahead and we need to do a position swatch on this page. So probably what we'll do is we'll just add a swatches stack up here. I'm going to do a position swatch. Now, if you have other pages that use this header that's going to float there, okay, maybe this is something you could add into site styles as well.
Okay.
Okay. But I'm going to go ahead and just add banner header, and I'm just quickly going to do parent bottom. Let's do like 5% or something like that. Okay. And we want left and right. There we go. And then probably want to further up. Let's do bottom 15%. Oh, that's pixels. That's why. Let's do percentages. All right. Now this isn't very big, right? But then maybe inside site styles, you go ahead and here and make the H1 a lot bigger, right? So you do like, I don't know, on small it's 48, and I don't know, 120, something big, right?
Okay.
Okay.
And
And then
the type of font that I used was a Google one, but I did it like manually. I didn't use the swatch.
okay. So yeah,
I,
so here we could, let's assign a, do you know the name of the Google font you were using?
I guess if you double click on the paragraph, it would say on top of it which one
Okay.
would be.
Oh, yes. So we're gonna get to that one. I'll show you.
But that's
okay.
the font right there.
Yep. Okay. So but as you see, there we go. This section's now built. You know, with your brand story hovered over it. Okay, and we can apply a Google font to that in a minute. Okay.
And you don't need to do any settings to keep that header in top of the picture with users when you resize it.
Nope.
Perfect. Okay.
Because in this one we always wanted it centered, so it's just position 50%. All position at the bottom the entire time.
And I can apply an animation also.
Oh, sure, of course you can.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. I selected in swatches, or I drop the animation tag on the header.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Do I apply the animation in swatches, or I apply it on the stack?
You could do either or. So there's animation swatch, or you can just do animate on scroll here. You can do that too, and you can just drag that on.
Okay.
There you go. That one faded in, but you know, you could do either or. I prefer the swatches, but you know, it's up to you.
I just want to know if it would possible.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Next up. Text. Text in Foundation 6 is really simple, and you've greatly overcomplicated it here.
That's because I'm using old knowledge.
Yes. Okay. So I'm assuming this EB Geramond is the Google font that you wanted, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to copy that. We'll get to that later. I'm going to delete all the HTML that you added into this. Okay. You also added a bunch of BR tags. We don't want that either. Let's go to the closing paragraph tag. All right. So now if we notice, just by typing in the text with proper paragraphs, as if you were to type this in an email, it's properly formatted minus the font.
Okay.
Okay. Another thing, if you noticed, this text goes full width. I had deleted your swatch that you added like a lot of padding, right? And we know how to fix that now, right? We just added a container to this, right? Yeah. So we add a container here. Okay. And then we add here. Okay. And then and we can add here if we want a little bit of gutter in the one column. There we go. Right. And you can adjust that if you didn't want it that wide. I think let's tweak the font sizing first. Okay.
Okay.
So let's go back to the site styles, because I think this is something that you want to add. And I think you want this font to be added like the entire page, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So let's go ahead and add Google font. And then we're going to go, the family name is EB Geramond. Okay. And the label is let's just put the same. Okay. Now up here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this to be the page wide default.
Perfect.
Okay. And if we preview, let's see.
The header didn't get it, right?
Let's see. We can also apply to all paragraphs. You know, let's just apply it to everything here as well. There it goes. Okay.
Perfect. Yeah.
Okay. Now I think you had your I forget the font size that you had set up here, right? You had a swatch that was defining the font size here, right? But we could also go into site styles, and then set the default font size, right? So instead of a swatch, let's just change the font size here. I think you had it like 24 or something like that.
Yes.
right? So now inside site styles, I'm setting the default font size here. Okay, we don't need a swatch for that. And there we go. Now the next thing you wanted this text justified.
Yeah.
Okay, so inside of either the text stack, or you can do an entire column or an entire container, there is settings for content alignment, right? So we can do alignment justify. And there you go.
Okay.
Okay. Further down in the page, I see that you have a picture and the logo again. And then you have some HTML, which we're gonna get to. And then you have a button link. Okay. So first off, I notice you're using a 3-column, and I'm thinking that's because you wanted empty space on the sides, right?
Yes.
And
yes.
this is okay, right? It's okay, but I want to show you the way I would do it. Okay.
Okay.
So I would use a 1-column because we only have 1 column of content, right? And I'm going to move all of this inside the 1 column. And essentially that's the same, but let's say I wanted to make it narrower. What I do is I would set this to be like, 6 inherit, right? Now, when you reduce the size of a 1 column, by default, it aligns it on the left. Now, as we said earlier, when we were doing the menu, we can configure the horizontal alignment of columns. So I'm going to go ahead and set the horizontal alignment to center. Okay. And what that does is it sets the column to 50%, but it also centers it.
And if I want to apply the class that we did with the size of the button, it will be using the same swatch of the other page, or?
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yep, exactly. So, we would put in, here, let's go to the other page. I'll copy that. You're talking about this container here, right?
Yeah, the button container that you set for small windows and large windows.
Maybe I'm which one are you speaking of?
That when we were working with the homepage banner that you design a button that will grow when the screen is smaller, and it will stay in place when the screen is in a desktop browser, for example. Can you apply the large class that you use for the small screens to these?
Yes, you can. Yeah.
Okay.
So because all of these classes that we have inside site styles, you can use on every page as long as this site style is on that page.
Okay.
Okay. So like, for example, in this container, remember I had this site section class that added 96 pixels of padding. Okay. Well, guess what? I mean, because I have site styles, that style is here, so I can use it.
Perfect.
All right. Now, I'm going to chastise you a little bit. This is very bad. You shouldn't do this.
Okay.
That's a bad one. Yeah, I mean, it works. Okay. But the snobbery in me is saying that this is not good, right? If you want proper spacing here, okay, you would delete these. Okay,
and make it a padding,
and then you would add margin to this margin top to the button, right? So what I would do here is I would do MT colon 192, okay, and there you go, right?
Okay.
Oops. Right. So if you really want that, you don't use BR tags. Use margin and padding. It gives you a lot more flexibility. Okay. Because you can customize that, but based on sizes. And again, not only that, you actually have control, because BR tags, how big is a BR tag? Don't know, right? I mean, you don't know what, but here we actually have control. And again, if I set this, let's say I set this to be 96, right? Oops, not 196, 96. Okay. 96. Well, guess what? That 96 is the same spacing as up here. So it might look more uniform. It gives us the ability to make our layouts, again, more uniform by using the same spacing and the same sizing around the entire site.
Okay.
Okay. One other thing I wanted to show you before we go is you wanted some ideas on what we could do with these huge image sections. Okay.
We can do it. I was thinking, but because I didn't know how to implement it in F6, I didn't do it. But I was thinking to use your stack of parallel. I don't remember the name, but it's like a stack that you have that you can move the page and the picture is behind it and move.
And it kind of moves.
Yeah.
The parallax stack.
That
yes,
one. Yeah, I have that one. Yeah.
Yeah, that could work. With that, you have to be sure the images are not large in size. Okay. Because that could be a resource intensive project for the browser. So if you have like a really large image, it could cause the animation to not be as smooth as you might want.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, it's possible that could work, but you just want to make sure that the image that you're adding in there is definitely as optimized as possible.
Yeah.
Okay. And use that effect sparingly as well. Sometimes I see people use it too much, and because they use it too much on a page, it makes it jittery as well because the browser has to animate too many images on the page. So less is more. Okay.
Yeah. But without that stack, I mean, I was thinking about it just because I'm with you 100%. It's a big picture that the client wants there, and I just wanted to make it more, I don't know, like look better in the website. Doesn't be like all the picture right there.
I'm just going to save this image really quick. Downloads. Okay. All right. So let me make sure that it's there. I'm going to delete this picture. Okay.
Okay.
And then what we're going to do is I'm going to make it the background. Remember we added this container, and the container, had the picture and it had in this case, the brand story header. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make that image the background image of this container. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to add a background swatch. Okay. And I already have a class set up to, what is this? Site banner. Okay. So we're going to add a background class to this. And we want a background image. And I'm going to drag in this image. Okay. And then let's see, we want it to cover. I think we're fine with all the defaults there. Now I'm going to preview this and it's not going to work, but let's show you. So right now it's empty, like it's completely gone. What's going on? And that's because essentially this container doesn't have any content. Okay. So what we're going to have to do, we're going to have to give it a height. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and create a height swatch. We could also use utility classes, but for this purposes, I'm just going to do a height swatch so we can see it.
Yeah.
We're going to do full browser height. Okay. So this container is now going to be the height of the browser. Okay. And let's preview that now. There we go. And it's responsive. Now, as you see, some of the image gets cut off.
Yeah, that's normal.
Okay.
Of the picture.
But it doesn't go past the height of the browser. You see that? Exactly, I think this is the way you should go. Yes, part of the image does get cut off, but I think that's okay.
Yeah. I can see if I can manipulate, like make an illusion, like working with the picture, like center more
Yeah.
the the more important stuff of the picture. So it
Yep.
will perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that was 2 hours.
Wow.
I hope that that helped you out. I'll make sure I ship this I'll zip this project up and send it over to you.
Yeah.
And yeah, I hope you got some good value out of that. Any questions before we go?
Uh, well, as far as be able to build a basic website like that, I think, in my opinion, it's kind of more work to it than an F1, but it's great because the options that I have now with Foundation 6, it let me do more, and that's good.
Yes. Yeah.
And
And I think
before that,
this entire thing, I mean, today I think we created maybe 10 swatches. That was it.
Yeah. That's not a lot either. It's good, you know.
Yeah.
I think that the without knowing how the swatches works and not understanding well at first,
Mhm.
it was what it was stopping me to build, because I was trying to just do the same thing I was doing with Foundation 1, and it was
Mhm.
totally different.
Sure.
Um,
Another thing is, I think it's important also, if you notice, we did a lot of this stuff with just like the settings and the layouts as well, like aligning those the content alignment and the column alignment, right?
yeah,
Learning how to use the layout tools and the few settings that those do have settings. So learning how to properly use those and how they react
yeah.
to each other is very important, right?
I don't know. It was
Um,
great.
so
I
yeah, make sure
really
you check out.
appreciate all you did, man.
My pleasure. I appreciate you coming on. Hopefully this gets you over a learning curve where it's smooth sailing from now on. Hopefully.
Yeah, man. I will. I'm definitely going to be more happy now, trying out the Foundation 6 and make it my framework of choice, because
Thank you.
I really want to jump from F1 to F6.
Mm-hmm.
But every time I was trying to do it, I mean, I like this client, for example, I just wanted to see if I can replicate, because I realized the website was so simple. I said, let me try to do
Mm-hmm.
this in Foundation 6. Maybe it's not that hard. And then I was stuck there. And I said, well, I don't know, maybe I'm not understanding this completely or whatever. But now I really understand better now. And I think that I can start making small projects with it, being confident about it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Excellent.
Well, I mean, thank you a lot. I'm sorry about me so frustrating and trying
Oh
to.
no, I understand the frustration, and that's why I was happy that you were willing to come on, because a lot of people aren't. And I'm sure there's people in the chat actually talking right now, because there's some people that have watched, and they're in the same exact boat as you, and they were frustrated. Some people even said they uninstalled Foundation 6, and because of you, they've reinstalled it, and they have new inspiration to go ahead. So thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Oh man.
I really do have a lot of passion for Foundation. I think it really is the best thing out there because it's so flexible and modular. Like for example, my feed stack is one where you can kind of generate layouts just because of how Foundation 6 works. It makes using other tools with it so flexible. And yeah, it's just I love seeing what people can build with it, and I'm glad that I'm very happy that you came on and were willing to share your story and your frustrations, and I'm hoping that I helped you out a little bit today.
A lot, man. Yeah, you changed my mind like 180 degrees. Like I was like not going to use Foundation 6, never, and now I'm going to use it because it's pretty simple once you understand the relationship with the swatches and the stacks that you're using. And now I think I can start creating right away. And I'm glad that we did that this meeting, man. I really appreciate
Awesome.
it.
I appreciate it. Well, you have a wonderful day,
You too,
and
man.
enjoy it. How's the weather out in Florida today?
Raining right now.
Oh, raining. Oh.
Yeah, that's Florida.
Yeah. Cool. Well, take care, Albert. I appreciate you, and we'll see you on the community.
Yeah, man, I will.
Cool. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care.